Okay, so right now we're up. Canadian dollar. Just kind of want to go into this. I already got in it pre-market, so it's about 8:44 a.m. So I actually got in here when on this buy signal. So we or this second buy signal. Sorry. So we had a buy signal. Things flipped over, and it pulled back. Gave a nice bounce in here. Nice buy signal. So you can pull fibs on that level and see how far it pulled back. Typically, when you pull your fibs, you're going to pull them, or not typically, but when you pull your fibs, you're going to pull from a low point to a high point. You're going to have to change how the fibs are set up because they're not set up right on the platform. Most platforms have them set up wrong. Your start point is the low. Your upper point would be the swing high. And then your points in between should start with a negative, or the 23.6 level, 38.2, 50% level, the 61.8% level, and then the 78.6% level. So those are the levels you're going to look for it to pull back to. And most of the platforms, including TradingView, actually have it set up where it starts at 0. This is your 0 point of the move on up. And then when it pulls back, it would have the 786 level. Well, it doesn't pull back. This first level it pulls back to is not 78.6% of the move. See, that's the way it's supposed to be calculated. Start of the move, down here low. Upper part of the move would be that high point, okay, which would be the wick high up here. So you got the start, the low, up to the high, and when it pulls back, how far does it pull back of that 100% move? Well, it pulls back 23.6. It pulls back 38.2%. It pulls back 38.2% of the entire 100% of the move. So that's how it's supposed to be set up. Unfortunately, again, it's typically not. So you want to make sure to set this up right. It's wrong to say, well, this is my move, you know, from the low to the high, and here it's pulled back again because it would be reversed. It would say 78.6 and 61.8. Well, it hasn't pulled back 61.8%. It's only pulled back 38.2%. Okay, so make sure you change those settings. So we had a nice bounce there, and then an extension, and then of course you would draw fibs again if you're using the fib tool on your next move. So this is our next move up from here to here, and then it's pulled back into that. So that's if you're using your fibs in your trading. You know, you draw them from the low to the high, that swing low to high, and then you're going to see how far it's pulled back. So here it's pulled back to the 61. See, truly, it's pulled back 61.8% of the move. Of that entire move up, it's pulled back a little over 61.8%. So that's how that's set up and calculated. Someone was asking me about that. So a lot of people feel that if it's pulled back all the way here to 78.6%, that the move is over. I don't, because that's our inside. Typically, that is going to be our inside bottoms that it pulls back to. So if you don't know about inside bottoms and tops, you can look out there on the net. It's out there. So when it pulled back, this green candle here, I went ahead and stacked in some more. So again, I went in light with 1, stacked in 6 here, and then the order, of course, moved, you know, because when we bought in 1 on this, actually, yeah, I did buy in 1 here. That's right. So I did buy in 1 on that buy signal. And then again, pulled back, another push up, pulled back. We got another extension, not as great as what these other 2 were. So we'll see what happens with it. So again, got in on this candle, but when I stacked in 6 contracts, when we got this buy, of course, my order moved up. So modified my stop to match. So I went in and modified that to match my contract size, and then moved my stop up under this, the low where it's at now. We'll see what happens. So right now I'm not closing anything out yet. What I want it to do is I'd like to see it breach this high that we just created before I close any out. Could close out some there since it already breached up there. We could have closed out some of our trade because we did add in at a good price point. So we're looking for a bounce here. It's getting weaker and weaker. So again, you see a good swing up and a barely pulled back. So each one of these swings is telling you something. Okay, we had a strong move up, a good sweep up, several candles. Okay, and then it pulled back one candle. So it pulled back a little here, but then we had one bearish candle. Okay, so we had some bearish momentum or bearish movement in there, and then a nice bullish engulfing candle after that, and then several other green candles. So again, the bullish side of the market's in control. Pulls back a little. Bullish side of the market's in control. Pulls back a little deeper, and then we see a weaker move up. Okay, so we had a nice strong move up, barely a pullback. Decent move up, a little more of a pullback, and then a weak move up. Okay, that's definitely a weaker move up, weaker push. So again, I'd like to see it break that high in order to close out partial. So now we're going to wait it out.
Stop filled.
All right, I got stopped down on another order. I'll have to go look and see which trade that was on. Still in oil. That was on a euro trade. All right, so now we just wait. We'll see what happens on this bounce. As you can kind of roughly, I don't use my fib tool anymore. I used to use it religiously. Now we just use it more for our profit target tool. But as you can see from this low here up to that high, you can see how far it's pulled back. So if you can just rough it in and say it's pulled back about 50%, that wick right there. Again, from this low here to this high, it's pulled back roughly 50%. So we'll look and see if that holds up. Over time, it's actually pulled back to the 618, so a little bit deeper. So the turn here, it looked like 50%, so it actually pulled to the 618. So, but I like to get them off the chart because it ends up getting a little too much. Down here on the entry, on the original trade, with stop down here below this low, and the entry was at what, 72230. So if I pull this up to 72230 and change it over to the target tool, so that was our original risk reward on the first contract that we put on. Okay, and it hasn't quite hit 1-to-1 yet on that first contract, so that's why we haven't closed anything off yet. So we're looking at it to hit that 1-to-1 on the first contract, and then we'll close out some. So we could come up while we're waiting and put in a sell limit order. We don't want to close the whole thing out. I'd only want to close out, say, 5 contracts on that. And we put it up there on that first line, first level. We shall wait it out and see. And as we had a nice downward push, and I've got this set up on aggressive settings, so you don't want to trade this like nonstop all day long, because I have this set up on a 3, if you'll notice, 3, 5, and 15. We're just looking at the smaller time frames. We need to be in and out of these on the small time frame. Love that we're seeing some green. We're seeing some pushback. Sideways between our order line and this previous high right here. This may disappear. Right now it says buy. We got about 14 seconds left on this candle. So we'll see if that stays. Yeah, we had a candle open. So we'll see if it stays. Sorry, we didn't have what I said, 14 seconds. So we still got a minute and a half right now. So we're up 145. Again, nothing impressive right now. Looking for 500 on the day. On this account, that's it. That's all I'm looking for. This is a smaller account, so we're only looking for that 500 a day. You only need a couple $100 a day. I always tell people to go back and look at what they need. I mean, there's 20 trading days in a month. So if you need $4,000 a month, that's only $200 per day. And we're already at 200. So again, you should start at what you need to make. You should always start there. You shouldn't. People all the time, well, how much can I make? The sky's the limit of what you can make. That depends on what the market gives you. And that also depends on if you close part of your trade out. If you lock in profit when you're given profit, some people won't do that. That's why we close partial. We want to lock in profit when we're given profit. So I always ask them, how much are you looking to make? You know, what's your dollar goal? A lot of people don't have one. They see the Lambos, and I call it Lambo money. They want Lambo money, and that's fine. It'll come later. But you need to set up a realistic goal for yourself. Yeah, how much is it? The first time someone asked me that was a guy named Ed, and he retired. And I said, well, how much are you wanting to make? He said $4,000 a month. That's why I use that as an example. And I said, okay, how many days are you willing to trade? You have to start at that beginning. How much are you wanting to make? He said $4,000. I said, okay, how many days are you willing to sit and trade? There's 20 trade days in a month, 5 days a week. Are you willing to come in and trade each day? He said, yes. I said, okay, then we divide the 4,000 by 20. Okay, so you need to make $200 a day. If he would have said to me, no, I can only sit there 3 days a week, I can only trade 3 days a week, or only want to trade 3 days a week, well, then the calculation's different. Okay, then he's only doing 15 days, or 12 days, sorry. 3 days a week, 4 weeks, 12 days. So then you divide 4,000 by 12. But he said, yes, I'll sit there for 20 days, or 20 each day, and trade each day. I said, okay, are you willing to take one trade, and you want one? Or would you be willing to possibly look for 2 entries, take 2? And he said 2. So that puts us at $100 per trade. Very, very small target. Very easy to attain that. And then you have to be willing to, though, close out part of your trade or all of your trade when you hit your targets. And that's one of the places that people fail. So right now we're at 250. It is at the candle. It tapped the candle close here. Hoping for a little stronger push. And then, of course, I recommend doing shooting for your target, closing partials to capture that, and then whatever you get over that's a bonus. That's your bonus paycheck for the end of the month. It all gets totaled in. Your bonus each day over your target if you're looking for 200 a day, and you capture that. Like right now, we're at 215. So if I closed out everything and I was looking for 200 a day, we'd be $15 over. $15 goes toward our monthly budget. It's not much, but it adds up over 20 days. Now, I wouldn't close it all out. That was my other trade on. That was on oil. That was my runner on oil, so I lost $6 on my runner on oil. A runner that did not run. I know this is a little different than usual. Usually I got 6 instruments up, watching 6. Just because that's how I trade, so I typically will not dial down to one instrument and trade. Because you get into one instrument and it may not do anything for you. You may be a little loser for the day, or it may just go sideways and whip you back and forth. So that's why I look for entries. I'll look at several different instruments, and typically that's 6. I scan about 8. Normally I'll scan 8, watch 6, and then look for entry, get into entries on 2 to 4 of those at least. Because you just don't know which one's going to trend for the day. They don't all trend at the same time. Sometimes oil will break out and trend, and nothing else will. Sometimes gold will break out and trend, and nothing else will. Sometimes Bitcoin will break out and trend for the day, and nothing else will. So if I'm in a position in oil and gold and Bitcoin, and say the Canadian dollar here, or the ES or NASDAQ, one of the indices, if I'm in a position on each of those instruments, one of those may break out and run. That runner then becomes huge, and it could run for the rest of the day. It could run for a couple of days. So that's what we're looking for, is that bonus, that runner, to capture in a lot of profit. And that's how you get into some of those trades that you guys have seen me post about, where I've been in for like weeks. You don't know when you get in it. I don't know when I get in this trade right here if this is going to trend for the rest of the day. Is it going to, pull back and stop me out? We don't know when we get in. The market's going to decide that for us. But if by getting in several instruments, again, if one of them does break out and trend, then you're in that. You're not missing it. You're not trying to chase it. You're not trying to jump in. Because when you do that, you tend to jump in at the last minute and it turns around. You make a lot of bad decisions. So I like that we've held. Again, I didn't draw a line under here, under like this wick, these 2 wicks here, because there's already a line from where my order is. That's why I didn't come in and do that. Nothing too exciting. It's where we just sit back and have some coffee. And try and wake up. You should 100% be willing to accept a boring, slow trading session. I'll take boring and slow and hitting my targets any day. And so far we haven't hit a target yet. It's just been boring and slow. I'll post out in the Discord my trades on the spot Forex market. I am in both the, I'm in the Euro long, and I'm also in the Canadian dollar as well. So right now I'm up 2,500 on the Euro and 1,600 on the Canadian dollar. I need to close out some profit here. And the euro is starting to scream. I just moved my stop up to a little better than break even on the euro trade. I don't think you guys can see it if I show my phone on the screen. I don't have it set up to show it in here like a screen share, but I don't think you guys can. It's too much light with the orders. Sorry. Yeah, with the orders sitting up there, the buy and sell buttons, it's too much light. I don't remember how to change that. Let's see. Well, that didn't do it. Alright, so we're still printing buy signals, and it's still clipping along in that area. I'll post it out in the Discord, guys. Because I just hit 5 on the euro. So basically on the euro, I was waiting on it to break a high. I'll go over and post it later. It broke. I'm in. Got 40 lots on, which is typical, and it just hit 5K. So normally I look for them to hit 10K before I close, and I'll close out 3/4. So with things moving the way they are, I'm not sure if that's going to clip up enough for me to capture that. We'll see. Now in my platform on the Canadian dollar, I'm up 3,200. I got in this same trade on the spot pair, okay, which is the US dollar, Canadian dollar. I've covered this several times. So since the US dollar is the base currency, it's on the left. So what you have is this right here. Okay, that's the spot. Right there. That's spot Forex for trading Canadian dollar against US dollar. Since US dollar is the base currency, okay, and the Canadian dollar is the cross currency, if you're trading spot US CAD, you're going to sell. So this for me was a sell order on the spot. So, but here in the futures contract, since we're only trading what? We're only trading the Canadian dollar futures, okay? It's going to mirror that. It's going to be inverted, and it's going to go, we're going long. So the same exact thing I'd done here, I did it in the spot market. And of course with larger, and they're not called contracts, so they're called lots, okay? So we trade, I did 40 lots is what it's called instead of contracts. But same thing, it's 40, I bought 40. My quantity was 40, okay? So I'm up 3,800 on that. So up a little bit more than what we are here because of that. So you'll see that I'm up 355 here. I'm up 3,633 right now on the Canadian dollar trade. So I'm gonna be in and out here a little bit as I'm gonna be modifying those orders. So just bear with me. As I try not to rush and accidentally hit close buttons. I'll go ahead and post those out in the Discord so you guys can see those later. All right. So we're still waiting. Again, nice and slow. Nothing major yet. Just watching that profit go back and forth. And I do recommend using limit orders like this to close off part of your trade. It makes it automated, so you don't rely on yourself to close out the trade. Because how many times have you been in profit, it shoots up, and you don't have this limit order here. It shoots up and hits that level and you're in profit. And what's your mind thinking? It's going to keep going. And you won't close partial. You just won't. You will not hit that button because you're up. Right now we're up 180. So by the time it hits there, it'll be about 600. I'm just guesstimating on the move from where orders are sitting now to where it's at. It'll be up about 500 or 600. So again, it gets up to that target, our first target level of our original entry, and you don't close partial. And it's because you're up. You're seeing that 400 or 500, or you're seeing X amount of ticks. It doesn't really matter because, you know, if you see positive ticks, you're up, right? So, but a lot of times people won't close partial. They won't lock anything during the day. And then what happens is eventually that just pulls all the way back. So this is what I used to hate when I started in trading. And it was one major annoying, and I don't know, just it kind of would deflate you. It just is something that you have to get around, but you would watch it bounce around and then you'd be up, you know, $500 and you wouldn't do anything, or you move your stop to break even and then it comes back and stops you out. at break even. And you don't lose anything, but you don't gain anything either. And you were up $500 or you're up $600 and you didn't do a thing about it. You didn't do absolutely a thing except move your stop to break even. And moving your stop to break even is great. However, you're not locking in profit during the day. And if you want to live and you want to make this, last, you want to trade for a living, then you have to lock something in. I mean, you have to make a paycheck. If I go out and work for somebody, and I used to be in construction, if I go out and work for the day, I need to make money. Okay? And originally, it used to be like $200 a day. If I went out and made $200 a day working, then that's what I needed. That's all I needed in construction. Then it got to where I needed 300 and 500. Well, then I'm in construction management, so that was a whole different ballgame. So 500 a day for me was a good living. So same here in trading. You have to decide on what your target is for the day, and then for the month, dial it down to the week, dial it down to the day, and that's how much you need. So lock that in. If you need 200 a day, lock it in. If I needed 200 a day, right now I could close out and be done. Okay? But I like leaving runners, so I wouldn't close all of this. I would close all 5. That's why I've got the pending order here of 5. So I would close out 5, and then if I closed out 5 right now, I'd still lock in the 200 for the day. Okay? And then have the 2 extra contracts on in case it runs. And our stop's almost to break even at this point. So I stepped it up and moved the stop up because of this right here where we push back up and then these 2 candles right here. So it's a little aggressive on it, but I'm okay with that. I don't want it to pull back and stop me out now because I'm going to take a little bit of a loss. But I've minimized my risk. Okay? I've lowered my risk by moving my stop up some on the whole trade. So right now we're at 390. Would love to see it push and hit our target. We'll see. It might pull back first. Is this the candle that's going to break for us and hit our target? Or is this the candle that's going to pull back here first? You know which one I'd rather see. I'd rather see it break right now and hit our target. But the reality is, it may pull back. It's not really, I'm not really coming up with 2 trade plans right now. I'm already in it long. There's just 2 scenarios that may happen. Is it going to pop, break this little high right here, and hit our limit order, and close out 5 for us? Or is it going to linger there for a minute and then pull back? Then maybe later, half hour later, hour later, pull back up to hit our target. Or it could go back and hit the stop. So nothing impressive on it today. But again, a trader looking for 200, for one, if you're looking for that, you're probably not stacking on 7 contracts. But it only takes 1 trade to get you that for the day. Come on. It's there. It's close. So we'll be about 500 total when it, because we're at 460 now. So if it pops up there, it's going to be about 500 total. And then we're closing out 5 of those. It just does not, it just wants to tease us right now. How many times has it done that right there? Almost triggered your order. You just got to be fine with it. We set our targets where we set them for a reason. And again, you just have to be fine with it. You can't kick yourself for it and say, well, if I lowered my, target a little. Now you could, You know, and it's nothing about panicking or anything, but I could have closed out 5 manually there. Don't know why it breaks the orders up sometimes, just the fill cycle like that. So we did hit target 1. We closed out. So at that point, I am going to change and modify my stop order to match. And I have to, oh, I didn't. Sorry, I hit 5 instead of 2. Always make sure you've changed your order match. And then we have to decide, do we want to move this to a break-even point or not? Let's go see what we locked in on that. And this is through Trade-Evate, so I'm going out and pulling a report on it. Okay, so it actually broke it up in 3 orders? It broke that up in 3 orders. It shows 2 orders here in Trade-Evate platform. It broke it up in 3. So we got 110, 140, and 140. So we got 280, 390. So we got 390 on the profit so far. So again, not bad. That's not what I want per day. You know, I'm looking for that 500 per day on this account. So we got 390, and again, I'm looking for 500 per day. So if I closed out what we have here, I'm at 500. Okay, so I could close out this trade. I'm not a firm believer in closing out my trades, my winners. I'll close out losers. I'm not a believer in closing out winners because of the runners. What if this runs all day? Okay, so I'm willing to give up on the $100 profit. So right now I got 390. I'm happy on that. Is it my target? No, but I put my target there off of this right here. Okay, this is my 1-to-1 level on this original entry. Okay, that's my original entry. That's when the signal crossed over from a sell to a buy. That's when I got in. Okay, I just added to my position after I was in profitable area. So, you know, it swung back, pulled up, down, up. So on this signal here, this one contract was in profit still. So that's when I added to my position. So add to your winners. And then what I'm doing is we have 2 contracts left on. And we're going to leave those on, and I'm going to leave my stop where it is, below this low, and knowing that it might come back. We might see a big test of that, a big pullback of what just moved, you know, to test that area. Okay. So I'm okay with leaving my runner here. So I'll take a small loss against my gains. Again, leaving these on in case it runs for the rest of the day. Now, sometimes the runners will come back, and if I would have moved my stop to break even, I get stopped out at 0. I get stopped out a little negative like this. Or it runs and runs the rest of the day. And this little trade, you know, that's up 90 right now becomes a $200, $300, $400 or $500 trade in itself. And that's what I love to see. I love to see that. Oh, I'm shooting for 500 on this particular account, and I get 390 here, and I could have closed out the whole thing and been at my 500 or walked away for the day. But then the runner becomes a $500 or $600 runner. So if this runner becomes a $500 runner, guess what it does? It locks in $500 for tomorrow's trade. And then you say, oh, and it's a holiday tomorrow. I'm not trading anyways. So it'd be nice to make $500 for tomorrow, would it not? Well, that's where this runner can, if it keeps moving, it just has to keep going. So right now I like where it's at because it's just testing this high, or this, this high right here. So that was our high to break, right? from back here, and it broke. It closed above it, pushed up, hit our target, and then we're seeing a test of that. And it could go back down and test this other area too, which it kind of did with the wick here. I don't always extend this over, but we'll pop it over there. Send it to the back. So very happy with the trade. It took a while. The original entry was at 8:03, and we're at almost 9:30. So we have the U.S. stock market getting ready to open. This is where I'd switch over and look for indices and scan through the indices pre-market, see where they're at. All right, so we got the stock market open in 5 minutes. So again, let's see. Let me take this back. We did 40 lots there and 7 contracts here. But ultimately, again, what we're looking at is this right here. Whoops. And I put that in wrong earlier, didn't I? I put long because I'm looking at the... I'm still doing it wrong. I put long on the first one because I'm looking at this chart. So let me fix that. So that's how the two again play out, because again, we're looking at here on this chart, we're looking at futures. We're just trading the Canadian dollar. So just trading the Canadian dollar, we were doing what? We were buying off the buy signal. We were going along. But when you go out to the spot Forex, because the Canadian dollar is the cross currency, okay, the US dollar is the base currency, Canadian dollar is the cross currency. So since the here on futures we would buy, if you go trade spot Forex, you're going to go short, you're going to sell, you're going to do just the opposite. Again, that's because the Canadian dollar is the cross currency. So now I know I'm getting a little more into Forex than a lot of people want to, but all right, I'm going to move my stop down on the spot market, on the Forex trade. All right, so we're just hanging out. I like that it's hanging out so far. You know, it wicked down below that high. I liked there before I opened my mouth. Maybe I should just keep my mouth shut. I like that it stayed above that high from back here. But we know it could pop through because that's actually just the wick, you know, and not the candle body. So we're getting a little deeper pullback here on that than what I'd like to see. And again, the reason why I chose to trade this was because there was news that came out on it. Ugh. Alright, I gotta edit this. I thought I took pictures of the Canadian dollar trade, and I did not. All right, so there we got our first sell. It looks like it might pop up. So we might see a reverse on this. I didn't draw any trend lines on the way up or trade lines. But you know, you'd have trend line, you'd draw up here or trade line. And it basically, originally you would have a trend line here or trade line. You know, from there to our entry, okay? And it broke. So this is why we don't always take trend line breaks right when they break, because sometimes they'll skip up the backside. The move's not over. The move still has room to push. Okay, so just because your trade line is broken, we don't just jump out of the trade. Okay, and the reason being, or the reason why, is that sorry, I'm looking for this other trade in here. Oh, I just didn't take screenshots. The reason being is the move may not be over. So the market, of course, moves in waves, moves back and forth. It doesn't move linear. Our trend line, trade line, is what? It's linear. It's going to be broken at some point in time, even if it's just a time push. And a time push is, I just call them time push, is when it's a sideways movement and it's moving sideways, and the only thing it can do is go through your line. Okay? That's all it is. So this would have been your trade line up, you know, from this point to this point. So it broke it. It came back to test it. And it even gave a red candle. Typical entry, a lot of people get in on that. I used to get in on those all the time. The thing is that the only drawback to that is, one, that it wasn't done. It wasn't ready to move. So now you're sitting in drawdown right now. You're still in the negative. Okay, well, for us, we have the indicator. We have the indicator telling us that the higher time frames are still green. They're still bullish on that red candle right there. We still had all three time frames, and the first one is the 3 minute. So the other two time frames are still sitting green. So that's telling us it's not the time to sell. Okay, so we hold our trade. Is what we do. And then we'd wait for a sell signal. So unfortunately, waiting on that sell signal, sometimes you're going to give a little bit more up than what you want. That's why we close partial and are willing to take losing back what we have or could have had. You know, because I could have closed out and had the whole thing and been over 5. So right now I'm at 390, and that may be all I get. I may take back a little bit of a loss here. If we get a sell signal here, I would look to close this out and get in short. And as you're moving your trade line, this, you know, since it broke through here but continued to push up, you'd move your trade line out to that point, and then it broke it again, and then it has just skipped up the backside. So is our bullish move finally coming to an end? I gotta post these out there. take a screen. There we go. See, we got another push. So wait, you have to wait on the candle to close, of course. And we ended up not getting that sell signal. Let me post this out on the Discord. So this is a good test of the previous high. So I posted both those out in the Discord, where I've got the spot Forex trade through my other broker. I've got that image as well as the trade posted out there where it's at right now, because I'm still on for 40 contracts. And then I also posted this chart out there so you can see the difference in the two. All right, so we're going to wait it out a little bit more. It's trying to stay up there. So long wicks. So long wicks, of course, means that there's bullish and bearish movement. So we had bullish movement up on this candle, and then the bearish movement pushed back down. A lot of times this will signal a reversal, but we don't know for how long. Okay, and when I say reversal, it could just be it's a pullback. It could just be a retracement. It may not be a full-on reversal. And so you'll see that pullback. So every time we see these, so we see push up here, and we see this small candle here, okay, this doji or this candle here with a long wick. We see another wick. Well, it means that it could possibly pull back. It could turn into a reversal, but until it turns into reversal, all it is a pullback. Okay, keep that in mind. And looking at our indicator, then we know we're going to see red, right? We're seeing red pop up. And the bottom just doesn't go red. So all that is a pullback. Start seeing wicks. Long wick, shorter wick. But start seeing wicks. Means what? It could possibly turn. Okay, it did. It turned and went up, which is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see it push back up because we're in it long. We're seeing a buy signal. We're seeing a buy signal. So we hold our position long. It comes up. We get a long wick. What does that mean? It could mean what? Reversal, which to us is, or to anybody should be, it's not a true reversal. We're not closing our long position and getting in short. We're holding our position knowing that we could see a retracement. That's what the wick means, retracement. Well, we see red dots down here. We see red candles. It's pulled back. But when it pulled back, what do we see? Long wick. What does that mean? That move could be over. It could be turning back around. Okay? And it kind of went sideways for a while. Couple wicks back and forth. These are about even on the wicks. So that means more sideways movement if they're even. If they're long-legged, and this is up and down, both the same. So that's indecision in the market. We got to push down, we got to push up. Indecision. Over here, we have a red candle that shot down and pulled back, but it doesn't have a wick at the top. So it's probably going to push down again. It does. It pushed down again. Okay. And then, again, you're watching the tails of these. So, again, long wick up here or wick up top of this candle that closed short, closed bearish, we'd expect to pull back down. So they don't always do much. This one came down, long wick doji, and it pushed up a little bit after that, but not much. But that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking at signs in the candles that say, okay, it's pulling back. It could be, at any one of these pullbacks, could be a reversal. Okay? So you're going to look for the signs. So that's a huge, the candle went up and pulled all the way back during that 3-minute time frame. So we know that we might see a little bit of a pullback. Well, we know right now that the bullish side of the market's still in play. It's still trying to push up, but yet the bearish side of the market's holding it down. We'd like to see, of course, a high, break of a high, which would be this one. We broke this, but never closed above it. So that's still our high we need to break. We don't consider a high broken until candle closes above it. So it's great that, we had this candle wick, that we had this candle go up above it. When this candle was big and bullish and green, I thought, great, it's going to break that high. And then it closed down here. That's why you have to wait for the candle to close. Don't ever jump in off of a candle while it's forming, thinking that's your signal. So we're still printing buys. That's good. But again, long, big green candle it was. Looked like it was going to break that high. I was like, oh, this is great. And, it got sucked back down there and closed down. So, what do we still got? 18 minutes. So we got an hour and 18 minutes before 11 a.m. I do recommend considering to stop taking new entries somewhere between 11 and noon. Right now it's 2:42 in London. So it's their afternoon. And in an hour and 18 minutes, it's going to be 4 o'clock over there. So they'll be shutting down. So you got the money makers over there, from the big banks, the hedge funds, the corporations, the traders that are trading for hedge funds that are watching the bots, the AI trade, the programs, the scripts they've wrote, that, trust me, they do have traders monitoring those trades. And it's your job to sit there and do nothing but monitor the trades that the bot has taken, the program they have trading for them. Well, guess what happens at the end of the day? At the end of the day, over here, that trader does not walk away and leave that bot running while he's going home for the day. That would not be smart. With a multi-million or billion-dollar account, you're going to leave a bot run and you're going to go home. So they shut all that down. That's why we get slow to no volume off hours. So peak hours, 8 a.m. to noon here, New York time, we've got both the U.S. session, the start of the U.S. session at 8 a.m. until noon, and you've got all that happening here. But you also have the London session where they've come back from lunch. So when we get up and we start trading for the day, London session, they're coming back from lunch. So you get an overlap. So you get high volume because you have an overlap of traders going on, institutions, heads, all that stuff. So you got higher volume during these 4 hours, the first 4 hours of the U.S. session. That's why we trade it. So again, around noon, you've got two things happening. You've got here in the U.S., you've got lunch, and then you'll have a slow afternoon because half of our trade volume drops off by the London session closing. Back up to that high. We finally closed above that previous high. It did not go past this one, though, did it? Does not want to go yet. Since we've, it scaled up the back of this where the trade line was, moved to, it scaled up the back. Since it has pulled down and then pulled back and closed above this high, it's done what? It's made a higher high. Okay? So in a bullish trend, bullish movement, we need to see higher highs and higher lows. Bearish, we'd see lower lows, lower highs. So again, made a high, pulled back, went up and broke that high. Okay? That's your low point now. But it skipped up the back, right? Went up a little further, came back down because it broke the high, broke this high, made a higher high, came back down, went up and broke this high again. Okay? So now it's made a higher high. So what I would want to do is take this trade line and move it on out, and we're going to wait and see if that gets broke. And it might this candle. Now again, we have to wait for a candle to close. We still have 1 minute left. Now, if this candle closes below the trend line, it does not mean the trend is over. We need to watch for the breaks of the high or the recent lows and highs, and then that right there, which might come up. We might see a sell signal come up because this is a huge drop down. Now I have to decide if this stays a sell signal. We got 20 seconds left. So if we get the sell signal, what am I going to do? Am I going to just close out the trade? Am I going to close out and get in the opposite direction? Or am I going to close out and wait for a pullback up and then get in? So there we have a new candle opening, and it did not give us that sell signal. Doesn't mean it won't pull back further. Does not mean it won't pull back further. But right now it's broken that trend line. So is it going to do what it did on these moves over here and skip up the backside? I mean, guys, it could pull back and then still push down, stop us out. I'm okay with that. I'm okay getting stopped out with that negative amount that we have on the runners against the gains. Okay? So okay with that. So we're going to ignore that. And what we're watching is it going to skip up the backside of this trade line? And ultimately, we need it to break back through these two highs right here. We could take this one off because now the high's up here. Since this candle closed up above that other one back here. And that's our highest high that we've created during this time frame. You could have stacked in here. We could have stacked in a couple. I'm not doing that right now because I don't want to risk more than I already have out there. But that would be an area to stack in. So you could have stacked in some as it pulled back, since it did not form a sell signal. And then you would want to close, of course, when it pulls up toward that area right there. It's a tight trade. So that would have been 100% of a tight trade to close again when it gets toward that line right there, because that right there is this low or this high, and I'd actually want to go, you know, right around that high somewhere, so not all the way up to that line. So that's a real tight trade, because you would put your stop right here. Your stop would have been right under that candle right there when this candle opened. It's super tight trade, but that's how you, and that would be a scalp move. Next candle starting. And again, we're watching to see how it does with our trade line. All right, so there we go. We would have hit profit target on that scalp trade because it did hit up there. So again, that would be a tight entry, tight extra little trade. Why are we pulling profit there? Why would we have had the profit there? Because it may not go higher than that. It may not go back up to test this. If we dial down to a 1 minute, do we see an inside top there? Yes, we do. So I didn't have to do it. On a 3 minute time frame, we see a 3 minute candle up, we see a 3 minute candle down. We know that during these 6 minutes, okay, 3 minute candle up, 3 minute candle down, I know that if I dial down to a 1 minute time frame, between this 3 minute candle up and 3 minute candle down, we have 6 minutes in there. I know that during that 6 minutes that it would have rounded over up here and given us a inside top to trade to. So go down to a 1 minute and there's your inside top. Okay, that's that 3 minute candle up, these 3 candles up, these 3 candles down. Again, I don't always have to dial down to the lower time frame because I just know what's happening, or what has happened by the move. So that would have been your target. And if you look at that inside top, again, swing up, down, looking at there's your high, and then the low would be your inside top. Okay, reverse, this would be your inside bottom. So that's your target. Well, look to the left. When we look to the left, I've already got a line here off the profit target tool. Okay, that green line is marking the inside top. Well, look to the left. Well, that's where this swing stopped. It just stopped right there. This swing up here stopped right there. So I could see it, guess what? If it stopped here and stopped here, when we got in on the scalp trade here, could it not have stopped at that point again? Yeah, it could. So that should be your plan. That should be part of your plan. Well, it may only hit that. That's why I said it was a super tight just scalp trade. Get in. Your stop was below the low, right? You're getting in. Stop below the low. Target right there. And if you look at the risk to reward ratio, it looks like it's pretty good. You know, your stop here, your entry, if you're down on a 1 minute right there. So it did hit 1-to-1. So there was your stop. There's your entry. There's your target. Your target was here, that inside top, that line. It hit that. It went past it. Right now it's going past it. That's why we leave runners on. But that was a 1-to-1 trade easily. So good trade. You could have put on whatever. Even if it's just 4 contracts, close 3, leave 1 runner on, your runner's still on. So that's, you know, a secondary trade within this trade right here. Okay. I moved the tool around here. I didn't lock it. There we go. We'll lock it in. So again, that's our secondary. That would have been a secondary trade on this. So far, nice push. So, again, that would have been another trade. I didn't throw any on, didn't want to risk any of what I already had. So now again, so candle pushed past the trade line. Not the time to get in. You still have to wait and see what happens. We didn't get a sell signal. We're still in. And then it comes back and then ultimately closes back above the trade line, gives a buy signal. This candle, it kind of pushed down below a little and then popped up. So right now, we've made what? We've made a higher high. So we have a high to break now, a new one. Okay? So that's our high to break right now. So since that is our high to break, we're going to, and we have a new high right here. It's our new high. What we want to do is take our trade line and move it out. So you see how, again, our trade lines, trend lines, how they are linear. They're linear. They're going to get broken. It does not mean the move is over. It never means the move is over. Originally, remember, we had it down here. Well, it broke through, but then gave a buy signal and then broke the previous high. Once it breaks the previous high, you move your trend line out to there. It broke it again, but didn't give a sell signal. Pushed higher. Once it pushed higher over here, broke that high, you move your trend line out, okay? Every time it breaks, it broke it again. Not the time to sell. Not yet. There's no sell signal. And as you see overall, it's kept moving up. So again, trend lines are great. I love trend lines. I started using trend lines. Then I started realizing that just because a trend line is broken does not mean the move is over. I don't know how many times I would trade this and get in on a trade, and the trend line would be broken, and I would close a winner. And I absolutely hated it. Absolutely. I would close a winner, a winning trade out here, and look at how much more profit it's in right now if I'd have stayed in. Okay? So again, trend lines are linear. They're going to be broken. Just because they're broken does not mean the move is over. This move has still in a bullish pattern. So it broke it. It pushed up and wicked past the high. So yes, you could have moved your trend line on that. Okay? And then it pulled back, pushed up to the high, didn't do squat. Red candle broke the trend line again. Again, not the time to get in, not the time to close your trade yet. We're still going to leave our runners on, and we're waiting. And then, of course, this candle just closed above the high. So we pushed the trend line out. Okay? So that's our trade line right now. And as you've seen, it's broken it several times. But yet, the bullish structure and the bullish pattern, the bullish structure, the bullish momentum is still intact. Okay? So right now on our runners, we're up 210. So now I'm at 600, right? Yeah. If you stack this on, if I close right now, I'm at 600. Remember earlier I was at that 5, and I said I only look to make 500 per day on this account. So I could close out now and be up 600. That's my 500 for the day, and then 100 for tomorrow, 100 on my runners, 100 extra. What I'm going to do instead is, of course, move my stop. We'll move our stop up there. I do want to close out one. So we'll close out one, and I need to modify my order here to match. So I am going to close out one because I'm no fool. I've been given profit, and I want to take profit, right? Let me go see where I close that one out. Need to make that money for the day. Looks like it logged me out a trade of 8 here. Let me pull a report and see where that was. 115. So we locked in 115 on this right here. And I got the... How many of you guys turn on the magnet on, the magnet off all day long? All right. We got 115. So now we've made that new high. I'm checking my other trade because I got to. If I move the stop here, remember I have to go move the stop out on. So my Canadian dollar trade is not quite there. I'm moving my stop. It's not quite to 10. It's at 8. I'll go post it in the forum or the Discord. Sorry. So two things. I'm moving my stop. And then so I'm up 877. There's 9. And I'm going to watch it because it's almost up 10. So I'm going to get loaded to close 30. So I need to change my orders. I already closed one on this one. But in here I'm loading up to close 30 because it hit 9K. And then when it hits 10K, we'll close 3/4. And that's typical on the Forex trades that you can do that. All right, so we're getting that pullback. So we printed a high, right? We broke this high, wicked up a little bit, and then we're getting a pullback to test previous levels here. So we have a new high to break up here. I don't go through, guys, and change these from a high to break to a low to break. I don't go through and do that. I'll just leave them because we know it's a support resistance level. I'm going to leave my stop where it is in case it comes all the way back down, has that deeper pullback. I should have just kept it right above this, but I'm a little high. because I know all too well that I've seen times where we get a huge red candle to pull back this whole distance. So we had a nice move up. Where's our inside bottom of this move? And that's all we've hit. We've hit that time and time again. I don't know if you guys have been watching, but we've hit the inside bottoms of, like here, inside bottom. It come back, didn't quite get there, but right here, across here, you see, make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Again, right here, inside bottom, came to test that level. You have these candles right here, which on this swing down, okay, we have the lows, and then we have the higher areas in here, the candle bodies. So it just tested those here, didn't go below on those candles. And then it pulled back up here. What did it do here? On this pull down, it tested that area again. That's why we marked these, right? So this high over here was an area that these wicks stayed under, where this closed above. And then this dropped down, closed above as well. Well, if you look at this red candle pull down, where did the red candle close? It closed there at that candle body, the inside of this turn. Another green candle, and then it pushed up. So I could see it pulling down to right here. Okay, that would be our inside bottom of our last swing right here. So technically that is the inside bottom of this last swing. We have a swing down and up, and it could go all the way to that level. Well, we have a high, previous high right there. So I could see it pulling down. So you're looking at what could happen. Well, I could 100%, now the magnet off, see it pulling down to test that level, okay? It could even pull deeper to test this one. So that being said, I want to keep my stop out of the way, because if it pulls down to test this level, it's going to go below that high, right? If it pulls down to test this level, it's going below the inside bottom. So if I could see it possibly pulling down there, and then again doing what? I would want to see bullish structure stay intact, and then we would move our trend line out, our trade line out from here to here. So don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I'm okay seeing that. Run this through in your head and say, you know what? That may be what happens. I have to be okay with that. If not, close your trade. If you're not okay with that, if you're not okay with it pulling all the way back and potentially stopping you out at barely a little bit of profit on this runner, well, then close it out. I'm okay with it. So we've got over our goal. What do I got? 505. Yeah, we got 505 so far locked in. And again, my goal for the day was 500 on this account. So right now, I've got $5 in bonus. We call that tip money. It's exactly what that is. It's just tip money. All right, I got a couple texts I got to respond to here. So good on the day. Again, locked in 505. $5 again is tip money. So nothing special. But we have 100 right now in the hole. And we'll get a little bit. If it pulls stop me out, we'll get a little bit more tip money. Okay? Unless I close out now. And then, you can go out to eat on that $100. And I'm talking not me spending $100 on myself eating. I'm talking about taking the family out. Don't want you guys thinking I'm eating $100 meals every day. Do I eat $100 meals? Yeah. I love my steak. And I like a good steak. If you do like steak and you ever get a chance and you go to Chicago, I'm not sure where other locations he has them, but there's a Michael Jordan's there in the Continental Hotel, and it is very, very, very good. 45-day dry aged steak, asparagus, and trio of mashed potatoes. 3 different types of mashed potatoes. Very good. And that'll cost you $100 for the, I think the steak alone was like $55. Very worth it though. All right, so we're just waiting candles. So again, we know it may pull back. We know after a healthy push up, what do we get? We get pullbacks. We get retracements. Expect them. They're going to happen. So again, look at the whole move. Push up, got to pull back. Push up, got to pull back. Push up, got to pull back. Then a bunch of sideways movement before it pushed up again. Okay? Then it barely pushed up. What we were seeing there, we saw a healthy push up, a little pullback, healthy push up, a little more of a pullback, healthy push up, pullback with sideways movement. Okay, a little indecision in the market here on price. And then it finally struggles but pushes up above. Then when it drops back, a little more sideways movement, hesitant to jump above. And then finally popped up above and closed above that high, but what? Boom, big red candle. Took out all 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4 candles up. Take it out in 1 candle. Healthy pullback. We have to see pullbacks. You're going to see pullbacks. So learn to deal with them. Nice push up and pulled back some and sideways movement. Doesn't mean it won't pull back further, because it may. Okay? Let me post this out there. You just have to learn to deal with the pullbacks. I hate the way this keyboard sounds. So we have one runner on. It's up 115. We're going to let it go for the rest of the day. I don't know how long I'll keep the stream running here. So we've met our goal. We met the 505. We got in on here on the buy with our stop below the low. So that was our entry candle right here, which was 803. So again, 803 is when it got in. It is now 1013. So, you know, we've hit the 2-hour mark. So it took 2 hours overall, right around 2 hours. I don't know what time this candle right here was, where we closed this one. That was at 9:57. So again, in at 8:03, 9:57, close enough. We'll say it's 2 hours. So it took 2 hours overall, and I had to add in. If I wouldn't have added in, I still wouldn't be at my $500 goal yet. Okay, so keep that in mind. One contract on, it's going to have to trend all day. If that's all I did was put one contract on with my stop here, okay, then it would take the entire move. We would be up about $300 to $400 right now. So by adding in, I was able to get that 390 early, And then, of course, we just closed one out. So 2 hours total to get us to the 505 profit. And that's where we're at right now. So we come in. Typically, I'll come in and do this. I typically mark trade 1 or 2. I'm only taking 1 trade on this. So we just add it into our position. So right now we have the profit locked in now is, we got what, 505? And then we have runner. We have a runner on. So I don't know what that's going to be yet because I like to keep my runners open. So I'm not going to close it. Even though we're, here in 45 minutes, we'll be at 11 o'clock. London session is going to be broke down. Right now it's 3:15 over there. And, so they're going to be closing down for the day. We're going to be breaking for lunch over here, and then coming back. The afternoon should be slow to no trading. So I'm not looking to take any more entries on the day or even add to a position because of that, because of low volume. We're having low volume right now, and typically you're going to have that lower volume come in than what we started the day with. Okay, and that's again because half of our market's dying out. The Canadian session, they're with us. They trade the same time frame, New York session. So they're doing the same thing. They're, getting ready for the half day mark. So right now it's 10:15 in Canada, in their market. So, and that's what we're trading, is the Canadian dollar. So I don't expect big movement during the afternoon. Now, can we see some big sell-offs? Profit taking at the end of the day? Yes, we can. So just adjust your stops accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream. I hope you liked it. Right now, we don't know what we're going to get on the runner. I do know that the runner is going to be positive. Okay? And I know it's going to be positive because we moved the stop. I moved the stop to better and break even. Do I want to move it up tighter? I could. So I have to decide. I would not move it just because we printed a buy here. I would not move my stop up below that low. That's super tight, and I know that could get wicked out only to keep going. So one, I would use my trade line. I'm not a firm believer in only using the trade line because if I come up here and use my trade line, where do you trail? I mean, do you say off this current candle come down to the trade line and go 4 ticks below the trade line? Because right now this is the candle. So if you come down to your trade line, it's right there. So could I not use the highs and lows? Yes. Right now we have the high that's broke that it's testing. So that to me is kind of tight. We have another tool that is just what I use as a stop management tool, and that's this one. You do have to adjust it. So you'll see when I put it on the chart how it's printing orange and blue, orange and blue, orange and blue. It's going back and forth. Well, I know I need to be adjusting it. Why? Because our indicator is just printed just blue. Buy, 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 buy. We've never seen a sell that's formed and stayed. So what I have to do is I have to adjust this indicator to where it only switches from orange to blue here. That's what we want to see because we had a sell here. So orange, and then we had a buy here, blue. And then we need it to stay blue all the way up. That's going to be our actual stop level then that we can use. So in order to do that, you have to come play with the settings. This thing's based off ATR, so you're going to come in here. Right now it's on 1.5. So I'm going to adjust it to 2.5, click off, and see what it looks like. And it looks like it didn't. There it goes. So if I click 2.5, now it switches here, right? So it's orange here, switches to blue here, and we keep getting buys, so we need it to stay blue. We need it to match our indicator. Our indicator on the higher time frame down here, the 15-minute time frame is what I'm using today. So on that 15-minute time frame, the lower one is green, only buys. So we're looking to trade with that 15-minute time frame. Okay, so if the 15-minute time frame is green, we're looking to buy. We get all the buys. we need to keep our trailing stop in a buy mode. It needs to be blue. So you can adjust it and play with it. So 2.5 looks good. I could keep my stop below that level. So I could move it up a little bit and lock in more profit. Let's adjust it to, we went 1.5 to 2.5. So let's go 2.0 and see what that looks like. Is it going to allow us to do that, or is that going to be, do we get changeover? I'm just going to switch it to 3 for a second to make it switch. All right, there's our 1.5. There's our 2. So we need to come look at the drops, the pullbacks. What I'm looking for is how tight can I adjust this without us getting wicked out. So see, I adjusted it to 2, and see how on this drop right here, it turned right there at that level. So I think I'd want to keep it minimum at 2. Okay. If you go like 2.2, watch right here, see if it moves off that a little. See how it moved to the wicks? So on this pullback, if we had this on our chart at the time of trading, okay, while we were trading all day and had it set on 2.2, we would not have got stopped out here and we'd still be in the trade. The problem is you cannot set this in. This indicator is not good for trading. So I will tell you that. So we're getting in on our indicator, and then you can adjust this, but you have to wait for some swings, okay? Because if we had this move up here and this pull back here and this move up here, and I adjusted this indicator to be tight off that, then we would have been stopped out here using it for a stop. So unfortunately, this tool right here, I am only using it for my runners. That's it. That's why you didn't see it on my chart today, because it'll take you out. If you try and adjust it tight, then you'll get stopped out on some wicks up in here. I don't want that. So what I'm doing is only putting this in. I'm doing traditional trading with our entries. Our entries come off the power trade indicator. Traditional trading techniques on the pullbacks and re-entries add to your position. You could buy it, any one of them buys. And then ultimately then at the end of the day, when I have a runner, I'm looking to tighten my stop. So I'll use this tool. So I think the 2.2 is a good level because it's below this wick right here. Okay. So that being said, we're going to leave that on. Now I look for the plateaus in the indicator, the flat areas. So because what happens is this indicator will create a plateau, and then on the next pushed up, it pushes up, plateau, push up. It'll push up and move with you. Eventually, it's going to create a plateau that as price keeps pulling back, that's where your stop should be below. Not right at it, not right on it, below it. So right now we have a push up, we have a plateau, we have a push up, we have a plateau, push up. It looks like we're getting another plateau, okay, if this starts pulling back. So that to me would be super tight to go here, under that plateau. But if that's what you want, do it. Okay, I'm at 110. That's over halfway. So we're locking in maybe $60 on that. 60, 70, I don't know. So we're locking in another 60. Well, that's more than our tip money we got so far. So that would be about 60 or 70 added to this. So that would be an aggressive stop. A little more relaxed stop would be back below this plateau. So I think I'm going to leave mine back there. And then I'd set an alarm up here. And set an alarm on this line. And then kind of walk away. So if we get price cross up above this line, then I'll be alerted. I can come back to the computer and I can look to move my stop up. If I'm sitting watching the computer, see how we just had that plateau print? If it pushes up again, we'll have it push up and give us another plateau. At that point, I'll move it. So much like we use these take profit levels on our trade indicator, we'll use the plateaus. You keep it either one plateau back, which would be here, okay, or two plateaus back, which will be here. So if you saw it kind of, this line was up here pointing up a minute ago, or a second ago. Well, now that it's pushed down some, it's flattened. So I want to wait. We need to wait a candle or two, see what happens here. So ultimately, I'm going to keep mine two flat plateaus back. Okay, that's how I'm going to do stop management. So I hope you liked the trading today. I know it was a little slow just because, we're trading one instrument. And I will catch you on the next one. Well, no trading tomorrow as it's a holiday weekend, and then we'll be back to trading on Sunday night.